PlayStation and Xbox have been at each other's hair since the very beginning of the 21st century. Since then, both companies have put out great consoles and games to go with them. But why is a PlayStation versus Xbox debate so much of a hassle in the modern day? Don't they serve the same function? To find this out, we'll have to go to the very beginning, where movie rental stores were dying out. So was developing film, and dial-up internet, and public payphones, and fax machines, and calling 411, and VCRs, and maps, and... The original PlayStation came out in the US in 1995. It packed a wholesome 2 megabytes of RAM, a MIPS R3000A clocked at 33 MHz, swappable memory cards for storage, and an old school geometry transformation engine. Now, obviously, this hardware is very redundant for modern devices, maybe because it came out over 2 decades ago. But given games were developed to be played on less hefty equipment, this device could run iconic 3D games that are still played today like Spyro the Dragon, Silent Hill, Final Fantasy, and of course Tony Hawk's Skater Pro. Its successor, the PlayStation 2, became the world's most successful video game console, with over 158 million units sold. Little did Sony know, they awoke a sleeping giant that would turn out to be their greatest competitor in the years to come. The Xbox was released in 2001. It was advertised to be a beefy alternative to the already massively popular PlayStation 2 for the same price. It had 64 megabytes of RAM, an Intel Pentium 3 processor clocked at 733 MHz, 8 gigabytes of storage, and a variant of the GeForce 3 co-designed by Microsoft and Nvidia called the NV2A. But its solid specifications wasn't the only selling point for customers. Xbox Live, which was released a year later, basically allowed Xbox users to play, talk, and chat with each other for free. What was also a bonus was an exclusive game that not many people know about called Hollow Wombat Resolved. Since the Xbox had better hardware than most consoles on the market, it could run tougher games with more polygons, more particle effects, and smoother animations, making it the ultimate video game system at a compelling price. In order to have a compelling product, you have to have a compelling design. Both consoles chose not to stick with their roots, which, when you look at them, you can see why, but over the years their products have gotten more refined and premium, as you'd expect from these two companies. Originally, the Xbox was appropriately named. It was a box, and it had an X on it. That's why it's called the Xbox. Who would have thunked? And even though I'm glad that Microsoft smoothed out the edges of the original, I'm still pissed that there isn't an X on the Xbox. That's why it's called the Xbox, Microsoft. Here's something I put together. Feel free to email me. Anywho, the Xbox's aesthetic is robust and edgy. There aren't any bells or whistles to the design, just a box. An Xbox. Kill me. The one system in this lineup that sticks out, not in a bad way, is the 360. It was and still is an amazing console. It was a healthy change for Xbox users, being it was thinner and lighter, and a whole lot cleaner than its predecessor. With the Xbox One, Microsoft seems to take a step back to the original clunky boy, which was an upset, and 3 to 4 years later makes a comeback with a compromise of form factor and style with the 1S and then the 1X. I think it's apparent that the PlayStation's aesthetic goes for a more futuristic and layered effect, as well as a black finish which I find to be very sexy. The 360 of PlayStations is probably the PS3. Like Sony saw what Xbox did and was like, hey, why don't we give this a try? And their work definitely showed. Sony took away the stacking of greats and polished it into a smaller, sleeker, and curvier device that many people seem to like over its other systems. Unfortunately, it was made clear that Sony wouldn't stick with it for some reason when they unveiled the PS4, the PS4 Slim, my favorite design ever, and the PS4 Pro, which went back to a respectable and appropriate alteration of the PS2's design. From a person who owns an Xbox, I can admit that PlayStation has been good at sticking with their core functionality and looks. They all have similar art schemes, a small learning curve, and consistent updates, something that any gamer can appreciate in a device. From the brief time using a PS4, there are rarely any times that a downloaded game can't load, the software crashes, or some other bug that causes me to hard reset it. In a nutshell, PlayStation's platform is easy to use and easy to enjoy. The Xbox 360 had really user-friendly, immersive, and overall fun software, and in the 7 years it took to release a new console, people were getting pretty familiar with its layout and performance. And then, Kablamo! A substantial redesign of the entire platform. And I know I'm sounding dramatic, sure most people had an idea of how to navigate through new software, but the cartoonish design that I knew and loved, for the most part, was gone. But change is good, it's how we evolve! Yeah, maybe in something that isn't playing video games, I would think a company wants its consumers to be comfortable in operating their product. You could have eased people into it by trying the new software, but what's done is done. Besides that, Microsoft has been getting better at releasing updates, less bugs are appearing, less games are quitting, and even though it's not as close performance-wise to PlayStation, with more work it will be a complete and satisfying interface. Console exclusives are a great way to encourage your audience into buying your brand. Frankly, I think they're stupid, but that's for another video. When it comes down to the numbers, I'm sorry Xbox, but PlayStation dominates. And to some people, this is the deciding factor on which product to buy. There are some really good exclusives on both sides, like Uncharted 4, Gears of War, The Last of Us, and the Halo series. But just because PlayStation has more games only for that platform, shouldn't be the reason you go with it. And yeah, that's it for this section. I'm gonna give this to you straight out. No, it depends bullcrap. If you're looking for a budget performance console, get the One S. If you want a powerful, ultra-portable console, get the new PlayStation. If you're in the market for a skull-crushing, epic gaming machine that performs better than most PCs, with the added factor of it being small, get the Xbox One X. If you're new to console gaming, ignore the PS4 Pro. You can get better performance with the Xbox One X, or settle for the PS4 until they come up with a newer version. If you already have a PlayStation or Xbox, stick with their products for a little longer until the next generation comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this is a little different than my other video topics and a little longer. I don't know if you'll be seeing more of this in the future, but I'll keep you posted. Yeah, that's it.